Yo. Come on, sit down. Come hang.
We don't bite.
Yeah?
Okay, I might punch and kick a little.
All right. Well, anyways, this got a lot more chaotic than it should have been. Some of these people should not be here, but we're going to make it happen, and I love them. Anyways, welcome to our panel. This is VGM Jam Sessions, the new hang.
Question mark?
The reason why I decided just to hit up DM everyone here was like, oh, we all do VGM Jam Sessions and have some people come and hang. What if we just talked about that? And hopefully it's quite interesting. Yeah, let's talk about that, y'all. So yeah, what are we gonna talk about? Well, first off, I would like to, have like a short intro of everyone here, and then we'll hopefully talk about what a jam session is, and then what makes a video game music jam session, and maybe how that would be similar, that would be different from your typical jazz jam, funk jam, open jam band type deal. See that like maybe not all of them are exactly the same. We all come from different cities, different experiences, so we're probably gonna run things a little bit differently. And of course, we're gonna get more into detail about how we run our jams, and then how y'all can get involved. Wouldn't that be something? And then hopefully have a little discussion, Q&A time involving, I'm just gonna ask some questions for everyone, including the panelists, and for you. And hopefully we don't start or do start beef. Because who doesn't love a good beef?
This will be the first and last panel from the VGM Jam session.
That's all I'm trying to do.
I'll start enough beef for both of us, Rich.
Man.
And of course, we're gonna have a super secret surprise. You'll see when we stop. Wouldn't that be something? But anyways, yeah, let's introduce everyone. This is more than 5 people, obviously, but we're gonna go top down. So hello, I'm Bao. I run the jam sessions down in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. We call ourselves the Triangle VGM Jam. What it do, y'all? All right, Shango.
Hello. So my name is Shango. I'm the operations manager for the VGM Jam sessions up in New York City. It turns out of all the people at this table, we're actually the longest running of the jam sessions, for going on for about a little over 3 years at this point. Woo! And just happy to be here to talk about the jam sessions and what goes into it and what y'all as audience members and potential jammers can look out for.
Hey, I'm listed as Red there. I'm also known as Big Red, or my actual name is Andy, if you want to call me Andy. I'm one of the people who helped start the jam sessions over in Boston with my friend Lucas over here.
I'm looking up when we started. I'm Joe. I do the San Francisco Bay Area jazz jams. We've been doing it since April of 2022. No, 2023. Okay, so you got me beat. But we've been doing it for a while, and it's with the house band called Ultra Combo.
I probably should have said when I was running the jams. I think it was also like April 2023. We're like
around the
like
same
twins.
Time. Yeah, exactly.
I'm Mason. I represent the DC VGM Jams. I'm the house bassist. Thank you, Ashanti. I think as officially as a collective, we just started last year, but we're blessed to have a lot of the staffers of Jam Clinic be a part of it since, MAGFest is right here, and we're all local to the area. So let's just say that our members get pulled in a lot of different directions. We have people that, we sort of cross-pollinate between like a few more, I feel like clandestine is the right word, but jams where you kind of have to like know people, and then we all kind of decided, well, Jam Clinic is getting super, super packed. We should bring this to the rest of the year for all the people that are in the area that want to do it more year-round. So we've been going for a year now, but I think the smaller jams have been going on for much longer than that. But for sake of record keeping, I'm not going to say it's been going on longer than the NYC jams, even though that is unconfirmed.
NYC you guys are the we were all inspired by you.
Take the crown.
Yeah, literally like.
Suck it.
It's fine. Sage, you want to go next?
All right.
Oh, we got two extra.
Oh yeah, we got
people
some
on the
extra
panel,
folks.
though.
So you want to just go left, right? On my
Alright,
side.
I guess so.
I'm Lucas. I helped Andy start the jams in Boston.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Sonaji. I helped out with the Boston Jams, but now I run the VGM Jams out in Portland, Oregon. But there's no jams in Seattle, so I'm just going to say the entire Northwest.
That cable is shorter than I thought. Hi, I'm Jacob. I also go by Sage of Song. I am the production manager for VGM Jams NYC. I am also one of the main organizers for VGM Jams Long Island.
All right. Great intros, everyone. Oops.
It's a hot mic.
All right. So first question, I suppose, just who here has not been to like a jam session? Raise your hand. Okay, great. We got some people. Cool. Well, welcome. This is not a jam
Welcome.
session, but,
Sorry.
but we can at least tell you at least what that would be. And I would say it is a gathering of folks, whether they're familiars or strangers, play and improvise music in a group setting. And I want to say there's like, there's multiple ways to run a typical jam session. I think I kind of broke it down to like two ways. You can either have a set repertoire, right? Like that you can see many examples being jazz has a huge collection of tunes. There's a bunch of bluegrass spots around my area. But also like the MAGFest Jam Clinic, who's been there? Perfect, let's go. So there you go, that's a great example of a like set repertoire like jam session. Which is all video game music. But then of course there's also the no set repertoire. I didn't really know how to how to call it. I would say open. It can be like an open jam where people kind of just gather and just literally just make up stuff right on the spot. Whether just like
There are actually a couple jam clinics like that so far at MAG where it was more conceptual than it was like having a set tune to really play over. So that would be like an example of like a jam session where it's not exactly a set repertoire, but you're just playing stuff and feeling stuff out.
Yep. But then, so kind of building on that, I think one thing I've seen is that can fit into this like no set repertoire or like an open jam-ish would be like a hip hop cipher. Where there's already like there's pre-made beats, right? But everything's like off the dome. There's no like, we're playing the melody and we have to say these verses, right? No, everything is like made up on the spot. And of course, there's multiple ways to do a set beat, whether it's like actually producing something or folks will like beatbox to it. But regardless, no set like repertoire. You're not like, I gotta spit, Dre's, verse. That's required. It's like, no, that's just not a thing. And of course, I think I don't know if like the jam space is still doing it here, but I want to say that was like one of my introductions to like a open jam back in the day. Is the jam space like still a thing here?
It's not what you're describing anymore.
Okay, got you.
I believe it's very different.
It's now a recording studio.
Yeah, pretty much.
Gotcha. Okay,
That's
cool.
cool too, though.
Yeah,
Sick.
but back in the day, that was kind of what it was.
Yeah.
Um,
Instrument playground kind of thing.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. So next question would be, what would a VGM jam session be? And I think we kind of answered this question, and I kind of just left it open. Oh, hello. Is it?
It wouldn't be a VGM
there you
Jams event without technical difficulties.
Literally.
Let that be known.
Hey, ours been going smooth.
Right. We're doing pretty well.
Don't throw me under the bus like that.
It ain't just you, bro.
Yo. All right. But that being said, I kind of left it as it's a jam session where the primary repertoire comes from video games. However, that is done. And I say this, I think, more to kind of discuss, like, is it something where we just actually kind of follow, like, a jazz jam type deal, or we just take snippets of it and just improvise over little snippets?
Yeah, and I feel like it's really important to talk about the repertoire, because while it can just be video game music, the beauty behind it is that truly there is no one genre for what video game music is, and that's even more pronounced now, as I feel like a lot more soundtracks are getting a lot more electronic, and then there's an even greater demand for it to be made acoustically, since people have never heard it in that form factor, if you will. So truthfully, you'll get people from all kinds of backgrounds. Like in the past, I've done jams with rappers, and it'll literally be a cipher like Bao was talking about. So part of the beauty behind the VGM jam is that you can play whatever kind of music you play, and there's going to be a space for you. There's going to be something you can do. Whereas, like if it's like a strict jazz jam, to be honest, the barrier for entry is genuinely pretty high, and it's also a very specific discipline, and it's in some regards can be seen as like academic music, although I don't really like that perspective. But the point is that you go to a jazz jam, you're going to play jazz. You go to a VGM jam, you have no idea what you're going to play. You have no idea what your other musicians are going to bring to the table, or how they're going to want to do songs. And even between regions, like I'm sure there's like regional standards that everyone kind of plays in that region, and they all kind of do it like a different way, which is super, super cool, because then when we all convene in amazing events like this, we all sort of bring our own personal knowledge and our musical heritage, and we bring it together and make something better.
Yeah, plus the beautiful thing about, video game music is that the repertoire is built by the community that, try to show up for the jams themselves, and like Mason said, it's going to be different for every state, every community even. For example, up in, New York City, one of the main standards are a lot of the tunes from Pokemon, but mainly from like specifically like Gen 3. Because a lot of people within our scene like grew up and played a lot of Gen 3, so that's the type of rep that they try to bring, But even like as the community grows, like the rep becomes more and more diverse to the point where there still is no like direct thing, and and you can put it all together in your own little VGM book that they can make. Had to
Sick
plug.
segue. Great plug.
And then they'll keep bringing so much that you'll need to make a second one. Y'all can check this out after the panel if you want, just to see. But yeah,
we're definitely gonna talk more about that.
Yeah, and later,
Yes.
yeah. I got you. I jumped ahead. It's all good.
No worries. We're improvising at the moment, at this point. But so yeah, we kind of talked about like what a VGM jam session can be, and obviously, whether from just different types of tunes or just a different type of format. These are the current like running jam sessions that we have. As we just mentioned, we got New York City, Long Island, we got Boston, the Bay Area, North Carolina, I think DC. There's some actually. I think one thing that I don't think we have a rep here for is the Baltimore and Rockville like VGM jam sessions.
The funny thing is that it's actually, when I talked about, so for the Maryland, the DC ones, I spoke earlier about how there's like a lot of cross-pollination. It's actually the same people that do the Rockville one and the Baltimore one. Since there's two separate orchestras in the area, they like sort of host it. So it's actually the same people, which are also the same people who run Jam Clinic, by the way.
Oh, okay. Cool. Very cool. And of course, we got Oregon. I think that's one of the most recent ones, I would say. Yes.
I think Long Island is actually more recent. I think you beat us.
When did you start doing this?
We started doing public ones August last year.
Oh, mine was July.
Yeah, so you beat us.
Yeah. Okay.
And like
So
even
Long
this,
Island are the Noogies.
even this list is only from the ones that are within continental United States. There's also jam sessions out in Paris. There's jam sessions out in Tokyo. Recently, actually found out about a jam session that started up in Brighton in UK. So like it's going international at this point when it comes to the jam sessions. One thing I do want to note, because when it comes to starting these sessions, I know people can get a little bit iffy when it comes to like competition. There are literally 2 jam sessions that come from New York, different parts of New York, and like the state is so big that different regions can only make it out to certain types of events. Not everyone from Long Island can make the trek out to Manhattan. So if you're trying to start one, like don't be afraid to start something just because something else is there.
Could I actually piggyback off that?
Yeah.
We reach over to microphones because there's not enough chairs here. To kind of piggyback on what was said both about multiple jams in New York and cross-pollination, the whole reason I started Long Island jams was because as much as I enjoy jamming in Manhattan, I didn't want to have to drive 2 hours every time. So you do end up with situations with some scenes where Long Island has a healthy scene that is just Long Island. And you may have people from New York coming to Long Island once or twice a year. You may have people from Long Island coming in Manhattan once or twice a year. So there's still cross-pollination, but there's enough room for your own scene once you pass like enough of a time gap for your region to be inconvenient. If it's more inconvenient for you to go a half hour or make your own jam, that's your region's like zone. I can at least speak for Long Island and New York, it's 2 hours.
And like that's to say that like even in like the same city, like you have multiple jazz jams, I assume. You know,
yeah,
so
a
it's
ton.
just to
Yeah,
say
so
that
many.
Tons of them.
So just to say that like, oh, I made, you know, I started a jam in Raleigh. That means no one can have it. It seems kind of weird. You know what I mean? So, and I think, you know, as we kind of go, we're still pretty fresh, right? Like having these jams has only been in the last like what 5 years, I assume.
Give or take.
Give or take.
I'd say like, actually, if we're talking about like jam sessions in general from like the VGM scene, they date like tens of years back. With
Yeah.
stuff like even with the one-ups. I know
Yep.
they used to host a session back in the day.
Oh, that's good to know. That's very good to know. But I guess like now recently, I guess like more recently we
Yeah, the
have this-
explosion was recent.
yeah. And what does it say? I guess like social media, like the internet, definitely like really brought that up to like. And I'm not gonna lie, I think MAGFest really brought that together too, because I wouldn't have known about doing like a VGM like jam session if it weren't for MAGFest and the Jam Clinic and like working with all the folks at like, you know, using like the resources at VG Lead Sheets. That was like super helpful.
Yeah,
to
I
get
didn't know it
things
existed until I came here. So
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I think a lot of us had the experience of coming to MAGFest, going to the jam and being like, well, why can't I just have that at home? And then
we got the Jam Clinic at home.
exactly, you got the resources. I mean, VG Lead Sheets has like enabled that to happen in a much more efficient and easy way. You know, and that's awesome. Yeah. Let's play some.
Yeah. So I guess like one thing is just to kind of give you guys like a glimpse of of what the jams are in like the different regions that we got. So I guess Shango, like, you know, you compiled this. Is there like anything you want to like talk about?
Yeah, so I honestly, to kind of showcase what we got, I felt like I needed to show like a healthy balance of not only just the jam session itself, but also the house band, because I feel like one important component that comes within the jam sessions is having that house band bring in that standard, you know, like while the jam sessions themselves are open, you want to try to have something that's kind of like the face that you can try to advertise. Not only that, but also like show like this is what is possible, this is what you can do with video game music. So like one of the things that has been always a thing, but like we've kind of put more of a focus on recently is like getting that standard when it comes to the house band. Like if you're trying to show up and you're trying to play and you're trying to like go all out, like you got to be on it, you know, like that way you show what exactly the scene's got. And even with like a high quality house band, it doesn't mean like, oh, this is the quality we expect for the jam session. If you're not like a pro level, like went to like Manhattan School of Music, like type deal, like if you're not like in Smalls at 3 a.m. every morning, then like, no, like that's not it. Like you can literally, the range can be so different, but like to set that bar, I feel like to have the house band like is an important part of it.
If you're reading the real book, you got to get out. no real book.
If you're not
No.
reading this real book front and back.
The mentality that I've taken from it, I'm just going to yell rather than pass. The mentality I've taken back from it is we want the house bands to set the show so that the audience can then become a part of it when the jam starts.
Well put.
But we still need that show to exist.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's see this clip. If it would play. Oh.
Yeah.
Let me. It played on the different window.
Is there? Hey. There we go. Hey.
So, like you said, there's gonna be like different house bands essentially, right? Yeah, being represented here. Dom Palan.
You know, like we can even, yeah, exactly. Like we can have cats.
that's the appropriate
reaction, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the appropriate reaction.
Yeah.
That's the correct reaction. No, but like that in itself, like if I wasn't like if people didn't check out those videos already. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, wait, I know those people. But like if people haven't seen those videos before, you wouldn't know exactly who is in the house band and who's jamming, right? The slam and solo at the end could have been at the jam session. That's just the range of capability that you can reach at these types of jam sessions. So figured I'd showcase what there is to offer.
Well put. All right, so next one I want to get Red, Lucas, and
So a little bit of context for our jam session. It started when Lucas and I went to the session that Patrick Bartley hosted in August of 2022. At least the idea of it started then. Sort of similar to what Joe was saying, where we went to this jam session. We were like, oh my God, why can't we just have this at home? And we spent the whole next day hatching a plan. And with the help of Charles Ritz, we ended up sort of creating a conception, reached out to a bunch of venues, and got no response from every single one of them. We tried 5 or 6. And past a certain point, we said, all right, well, let's just try to figure this out. We were talking to our friend Jason, and they said, oh, I have a finished basement in Somerville, which is just outside the city. And they said, and I have a bunch of equipment. I'm willing to host you guys there. And we were like, oh, well, I don't know. I guess we'll see. We can do it when we're starting out and just see where it takes us. And then once we have a real venue, we can move the jam sessions over there. But then the sort of cozy atmosphere of this basement ended up creating this really sort of DIY, grassroots feeling jam session that we haven't had the heart to go anywhere else because these sessions have been so fun, and now we're streaming out of there and getting recordings of all this stuff. We're putting everything on YouTube. So I guess just to the point that was made earlier, that the jam sessions can look different. Like, this is a way that your jam can exist. Your jam session can be a bunch of your friends and their friends and their friends and their friends in somebody's basement somewhere. There are no rules. It can just be that. And if somebody in Boston wants to show up and try a little harder and get in touch with a bar venue and have one set up there, do it. Be my guest.
Yeah. And actually, I don't know if you remember, right before we started doing these jams, there was a local music store, a well-known music store in Boston that actually beat us to the punch, and they had a video game music jam session, and we were like, oh shoot, our idea has been stolen, it's over. And then I think you said, no, this is just a 2 cakes situation. Everyone is happy when there are 2 cakes. And so we went ahead and we did our thing, and now we're still doing it. So,
Absolutely. Roll the clip. This is from one of our house band sets.
Really?
90 million.
What is it?
I was going to say.
90.
That's a lot of
90
power.
million. You should be on fucking main stage.
A lot of power difference right there.
We did just cross 800,000, I think.
All right.
That was the recent.
So beef just got started right there.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah, right. We're kind of the same vibe of those 2 clips together. So yeah, it's funny because there are regional differences for sure. Because I hear you guys' stories, and it was hard for you guys to get it set up. It was not hard in California. It was weirdly easy, and it was the first venue that we asked, and we knew because we knew them. Well, so there was a couple of reasons. One was. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Weren't you the one who didn't want to start beef?
If you guys want to start beef with California, that's fine. I'm going back to it in a couple days.
California, let's go.
And I don't have to wear 4 layers to go outside. But I'm actually, I grew up in Bethesda, so
all right.
I'm actually a DC, like, born and raised, but then I moved out to California because it's better. But anyway,
How about that?
But anyway, yeah. So like, I mean, it helped that we all like. So the house band that we assembled were all people who were like regularly gigging and playing that particular club and other club. And it helped that the owner was a gamer. It helped that that was a venue that attracted a wide variety of like both quote unquote normies, and like it had kids, and like it was the right venue at the right time, and it was miraculously easy. So like, which is why we've been able to keep doing it. Like, I think it's kind of really awesome. You have like that built-in audience, and in San Francisco, you have more nerds and people, even if they're not accepting of game music, or like even if they don't play video games, they really dig the music. And like, we've had people from like KCSM, which is like the jazz state, like people who have zero game knowledge come in and play, and they just are like, oh yeah, this is some fun tunes to play on. And like, that to me, that was kind of why we started it, because like it was me and a bunch of guys who would play these jazz gigs and quote like Chrono Trigger and our solos back to each other as like an inside joke, and it's like, well, let's just do that. And turns out you don't like, that sort of crossover thing is what we go for. And then I can't remember who said it, but like that sort of education accessibility is like a big part of the jam. Like because I didn't get that, when I was a kid. Like the only place that I could play like video game tunes and not get kind of sneered at was here at MAGFest, right? So it was like, let's come up with a place that's really welcoming for all ages, and we try really hard to like make it fun and kind of goofy and accessible and like have a good time with it. So you'll hear I didn't realize, but I'm in here. But yeah. Kazoo solos are a big part of the Bay Area Jazz Jam.
I tried to limit everyone to like 30 seconds. I was like, I felt a little biased. I was like, this actually was like really good. I had to show like at least a little bit to give you some context.
So that's Carrie Wood, by the way, from Premium Vintage. She's playing tomorrow night on Main Stage. You should definitely check her out. Yeah.
Killing.
Oh, it's my cue. So the Triangle VGM Jams, I think it's like, again, it was just, well, what is it? I think an Adam Neely video dropped. I think y'all know the one, and which mentioned what's going on with video games and like jazz, and the Nintendofication of jazz. And one of the things that was mentioned was, well, MAGFest, but also the jams up in New York. And I think a buddy of mine was like, he knew that me and another friend was like, went to MAGFest, like, hey, you guys were at MAGFest. I saw this video. What if we just did that here? And I was like, yes! Finally, like, I'm not the only one who thought like, oh, we need to do this like for years and everything. It just never panned out until like everything lined up. But I think the big thing that it was like a bringing MAGFest home, bringing like video game music home like with me. But I think another thing too was, I think to show that video game music can be exist in a regional like music scene, and playing for both like a lot of bands in like North Carolina from like rock, some hip hop. I played for like MCs. I played for R&B singers. I I've done like metal and everything, and I guess jazz, funk, jazz. You know, I'm still very not jazz at times. I fake it a lot. But I think the big thing was like showcasing that like, oh, this body of music can fit into other things, and like for a lot of people who don't play video games, who don't know the repertoire. And I could have shown like, I think like with all the clips, it was very like, would you say like straight ahead, like jazz-ish, you know?
Yeah.
I think this one I wanted to show like more of like, my band is definitely more like R&B, I would suppose, definitely more soul. At least like that's who we play for, you know what I mean? So I want to at least show you like two things. It was like, we did like, what is it, Professor Egad, but also KK Cruisin' with an MC who's like, you know, I don't listen to many, but I'm like, I wanna spit. And I'm like, dude, come through, please. Like, again, context for, like, there are people who know the material, but then there was definitely folks up here who had no idea what was going on. But they still hang, you know?
Insanity over it. Yeah.
What is it? You said virtual insanity? Thank you.
The future later.
But that's actually a good point, though. The fact that you can say, like, oh, that sounds like virtual insanity. But, like, well, for me, I was like, oh, that's Bill Withers. You
Yeah,
know? So it's
right.
like, there's this connection. There's this bridge that we can connect both, like, all musicians who are, like, both very familiar with the material, and those who are just like, it sounds like good music. You know? And that's all video game music is, right? It's music. And that's what I was hoping, like, trying to prove, I suppose, and keep proving.
That's right.
I've also seen people mix KK Cruisin' with Use Me by Bill Withers as another direction that you could take it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I've seen it mixed with just the two of us.
Yeah, just the two of us comes up a lot.
It was one of those. It was either Use Me or just the two of us. Something Bill Withers.
I never know what to do. There you go.
There we go.
Oh,
All right, Jacob.
I guess I get to yap more. So apparently I missed the memo. I thought we were supposed to be showing stuff that happened at the open jams, not our house bands.
Oh,
That was it.
I mean, I just want to see the vibe.
I just was there.
Oh, absolutely. And we will be showing the vibe. So a little more context from VGM Jams at LI. It is heavily inspired from the VGM Jams NYC. I wonder why. But just like Bao, I also found out about all these jams through the Adam Neely video. The difference was I was able to go to the jams in the video. So after doing that for a little bit and working as their audio engineer, I said, wow, this is really cool. I want to do this more. A couple other people from Long Island approached me. We're still figuring out our flavor, as I like to call it. There's a lot of people from the underground scene and like from punk music that really like Warped Tour back in the day. There's also a lot of people who did marching band and educators that are involved in this. So we're kind of crossing that line. This clip here is us doing We Shop channel with just everyone that played horns saying, yeah, I'm on this. Yeah, I want to do this. And who was I to say no to a bunch of horns playing We Shop?
good.
I'll say a little more after. Come on, there we go. Oh. Kool-Aid.
Come
To
to
add
the
a little
jam.
more context to that, I know there are a bunch of guys in that horn section that before a jam will meet up to say like, hey, we're doing Nimbasa City, we're doing a harder jam song. Excuse me. Let's all meet up together ahead of time and figure out how we're going to do that. And right now, Long Island is currently in talks to figure out more formal shed sessions. Because for some reason, Long Island likes doing hard tracks, and I'm really bad at saying no. So we're trying to find some way to say, hey, let's give you a way so that you can actually learn the harder tracks ahead of time, play the harder tracks ahead of time, so that way when you're up on stream, up on stage, it doesn't sound like a mess.
Just get good. No, it's,
Well,
just get good. No, I'm
we're
kidding.
working on it. That's the plan.
It works out.
But yeah, that's the Long Island way.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. All right, Mason.
All right, so this is not the house band. This is, well, there is a house band, secret shopper, if you will, that is in this clip. But this is just like the jam. So DC VGM Jams, like I said before, is kind of just a collaboration with a lot of people from Jam Clinic that are locals. I'm very new blood, but from what I understand, we just kind of we saw how full these rooms are getting, and we would talk to a lot of people. A lot of them are locals, and they're like, "Do you guys do this outside?" And we're like, "No," and then they just look at us puzzled. And to be honest, the puzzled looks were warranted because there's such a demand for it, especially within like the DC metropolitan area. I love this area for music just because all walks of life, every single musical discipline, there is a space for you there. And so with VGM, we can just kind of unite everyone and be like, hey man, you play jazz, do you want to do some licks over this song? Or like, hey, you're a string player, or like, yeah, I somebody that might take lessons with a cellist that's in like the NSO or something like that. And there's also, a pretty strong academic music scene with like the college bands like Howard and George Mason. And then there's also the Army bands, which are very, very strong in this area for obvious reasons. So we just understood that there's such a strong demand for it. And beyond that, there's a demand that people don't know that they have for it because they don't know that it exists. So our main goal was to try to grow as a scene, basically, but also to try to lend validity and credibility towards it as like an attraction, essentially. So we try to reach out to venues of like moderate sizes, but also like venues that tend to host jazz jams or like smaller venues, just to show them that like, hey, these bring numbers. Like we've seen the numbers. In fact, I think for this jam in particular, the way that we actually reached out to the venue was we referenced both Jam Clinic and actually the attendance of NYC jams. So hey man, thanks.
Yeah, no,
Taking
like
our
seriously,
credit.
seriously, everyone at this panel, I think, actually owes a huge round of applause to the NYC scene.
Yeah, 100%.
It's really where it started. Like the organization of it, the sort of like establishment of it. Like I think we all watched that Adam Neely video. Like we all got it.
Yeah, no,
like
honestly.
To make it once somebody paves the way, then everyone else is like, oh yeah, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's cool. You get to a room at a convention, but it's like I think we all have a collective desire to watch video game music as a discipline kind of grow. And more people find the love for it that we found for it. Because I didn't know I love this shit until I went in there and I was like, hey, wait, y'all are playing this shit? Like, that's really cool. Like, I play music, never played this music. So, like, show me what you have. And yeah, so you can let it roll.
All right, let's do it.
This is also on the shop channel.
I feel you, man. It's all good.
Who would have thunk?
Court-martialed.
Yeah, the secret shopper was the trombonist. So
Yeah.
I think so. To speak a little bit more about sort of the
He's
ethos.
now on our side.
Yeah, I feel like the ethos for the DC VGM jams at least is a lot about inclusivity, just because everyone comes from a different background, and we like to meet people where they are and grow with them. We get a lot of people that are like, oh, and I'm sure you guys have heard this too before if you've been around like the jam clinics. They're like, oh my gosh, yeah, like I grew up playing music as a kid, and then I became an adult and things start sucking, and my childlike wanderlust just got eaten away from me by the corporate machine, and so I started picking up my instrument again, and I don't have anyone to play with. Like, they're like, oh, I played trumpet. And it's like, well, what the fuck are you going to do playing trumpet? Like, you can't play by yourself. All the fun is playing with people. And VGM is a great way to sort of bridge those gaps. We get people that are like, there's a member that we have that is actually working Jam Clinic right now who's a professional jazz musician. But then there's also people that are like, I've never played this instrument before in my life. Can you show me how to do it? And they're like, fuck yeah, I'll show you how to do it. Like, we just want people to discover the joys of jamming and video games the way that we have. It's literally just bringing more
Yeah.
people in because they don't know that they love this stuff, and we want to deliver that to them. So
Having MAGFest at home.
yeah,
There you
exactly.
go. That's
Although
it.
I guess it's like so. We're privileged enough from and being in the DC area that they're all bringing it home, but we're trying to bring it to other people's homes essentially, because
Yes.
we're taking out of, I don't know who plays League here, but there's a phrase Freak's Basement, where like the first League of Legends championship was just in some dude's basement 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and now Faker has fangirls. But we're trying to take it out the basement and bring it into actual venues, basically, just so that more people can discover it.
All right, let's move on to I guess we kind of hinted on it, but like more just like talking about how running a jam would go, right? And I mean we kind of covered it. Is more like first things first is knowing your audience in the area, but also like defining your goals. I think like you said, Mason, for you it was definitely like the sense of like inclusivity and
Right.
accessibility to where it's like there's a lot of people in your area that they do play an instrument, but it's more like where do they go to be able to share,
and
this
also
experience.
unique to the DC area is that we have 2 full-size video game orchestras. There's literally 2 of them. There's 3? Yeah. Thank you, Vishanti. There's 3. Yeah. I feel like a lot of places don't even have 1. Like,
This
we
is a
got
nerdy ass
3.
town.
So,
Shoot. Okay. Is there anything else that y'all would like want to share about, about the first point? Yeah, the goals.
I mean, another thing you want to like look out for when you're like considering your audience is like, are there any schools near you? I mean, Boston has Berkeley as a prime example, but the folks who the Berkeley students who have come to our jams have become some of like the absolute cornerstone figureheads of like our scene. So that's absolutely an avenue for you, I'd say.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting for me because I think when most of the regulars are tech people. But they don't just code, they don't just, do things on the computer. They also maybe have other hobbies, playing music being one of them. And this is like a huge outlet for a lot of the folks in like the Triangle, like North Carolina area. But that being said, I think we've recently gotten some folks, like jazz students from like neighboring like universities. It's just kind of like what you said, and I was like, oh yeah, that is like a thing, huh? Like this is an avenue. Like I think actually yeah, how many like jazz jams around the area are like accessible for like students under 21?
I was actually going to bring that up because the venue that Long Island is based out of is a bar. It is 21 plus, so that does affect the audience. What I did want to say on the flip side is listening to the audience, listening to what the audience wants and what they're receptive to. I've had multiple people on Long Island say, I was about to quit music because apparently the other scenes on Long Island are terrible to them. I don't want to disparage all of Long Island on the internet, but there are people who have had bad experiences in other scenes and have said, I was ready to quit until these jams started happening, and this has like refueled my desire to keep playing music.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's actually like we can get a little bit heady into this. Like, what makes a jam session bad, right? Because if you know what makes a jam session bad, it can help you like make your goals. You want to?
I have a first question.
We're going to do a Q&A for sure.
Oh yeah, we'll do a discussion thing after this. Yeah.
Defining your goals, the separation between a jazz jam, which is that shitty toxic thing.
Well, actually, so
No, I mean that's a really great. So okay, so for those of you who didn't hear, my man just disparaged jazz. No, I know. I'm giving. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. So why do jazz jams suck? And why do? So
All right.
so
hold on.
no, I hear you.
We will discuss this at the end. Don't worry. We'll get into it.
We
We'll
got
get
you.
into
We
it.
got
So,
you.
so from my perspective, there's at least two things that makes a jazz or any jam bad, right? One of them is the people are too bad, like they can't listen, they aren't paying attention, it sounds bad. The other is actually the reverse, which is that they're too good, and that makes them also not listen. Right? If people come and they just go there and showboat, or they just are there to shred, or they don't actually communicate, And what you will find in any jam is if you don't have somebody like actively thinking about the structure of the jam and like being the ringleader, what's going to happen is that the most sort of aggressive, toxic personalities become the ones who run it.
New York takes offense.
Yeah, I was about to say, I not sure this is going to be seen as like a counterpoint, but it may seem as like a little bit of a bridging path from that, at least from the New York perspective, because we've had bad musicians that have had bad attitudes. Meanwhile, there have been some absolutely fantastic musicians that look at our sessions and are like, wow, this is a lot more welcoming, a lot more comforting than a traditional jazz jam session. So I wouldn't say it's more so the skill level. I would say it's the attitude.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
like,
whether you listen.
Yeah.
No, I 100% agree. It's whether you're there to make music or whether you're there to show off.
Yeah, and like if we're talking about like mission statements, like New York is very much like leaving or creating like an open space for people that are passionate about not only just jazz but also video game music to come in and play the music that they want to, but also coming in and just realizing this is a place where they can comfortably be themselves when they're playing without worrying about judgment. The big thing is like when it comes to the jazz jam sessions, especially in New York, let me just say, especially in New York, at least from what I've seen from an outsider in, is that there is a propensity for bad attitudes to come from specific people, not specific types of people or types of musicians, but just specific people that can really just sour the whole mood of the whole thing. And, it's not like a thing to look out for. It's just sometimes something that will happen.
I don't know if I would call it baked in.
I've seen that with the open jams too.
It's kind of like chicken pox. It's there. The blots and spots are there, but they're not defining the whole thing. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So like definitely like establishing to distinguish the difference between a good and bad jam session is the environment. It's just the environment that you set not only for what to expect of the jam sessions, but also just like the attitude going in. Like you're not gonna be vibe checking people over playing Little Root Town, like that. Come on, that's kind of goofy, Right. And there's very much like this, and this could be a consequence of it being a very academic, music form of like, oh, I know more than you about this, when in reality it's like, no, we're all playing the same thing, So it's that approach that differentiates it, at least, in my perspective.
If I could button that up, I think the most important thing when it comes to that kind of thing, the hang is the most important part about the jams.
The new hang?
The hang, yes. Is it the word? And in order to establish that hang, you need to make sure it is abundantly clear, both from running it and from the community, that people who come are wanted. We want you here. We want you playing with us. We want you to have a good time.
And that's also why having I don't want to say a good house band, I want to say a house band that all shares a similar philosophy is very important, because it's very apparent if a house band has like a clear structure, if like one person's just soloing like for an entire time. So when we had our discussions for the DC scene about like putting together our house band, it was very like, I think the actual technical skill level of the musicians was like the lowest priority for us, and it was mostly about like, do we all have a shared philosophy of how we want to operate as an organization? Because it shows in the playing. It truthfully does. Like, I feel like it should come as no surprise that toxicity in a jazz scene is just as corrosive as it can be. And as a person who used to play a lot of online competitive games, there's a reason I don't anymore. The toxicity in League of Legends dissolves the same way that toxicity in any game will dissolve any group dynamic, and it's all the same thing. It's just groups of people having a common goal, and if one person's shitty about it, then the whole thing sucks. So
yeah.
Awesome. Let's move on to the second point. Sorry.
We might
those are all great points.
We might need to bring it up a little bit.
We're not here to answer one question.
In the interest of having good structure, we got to wrap.
I know. But that being said, so number 2 is utilizing existing musical resources or creating your own. Obviously, we got VG lead sheets. That's a huge thing. But then, of course, Shango and the gang made their own books. And I guess I do want to ask what made y'all decide to write your own books, like your own charts?
So it's actually more of a twofold thing. So For a little context, our sessions actually were a continuation from the original VGM Jam sessions that were started by Patrick Bartley and the J Music Ensemble. We actually continued tours around the time where vaccinations were becoming more common again with COVID. So a lot of the kind of like roots of the sessions were baked from what was established in those sessions. And in those sessions, their own repertoire was already built, and they actually do have their own real book that we also use in our sessions. But also just the idea of like people bringing in their own video game tunes that they want to, play that we don't have in the books. Back when it was just the J Music books, it got to a point where so many people brought in so many different tunes that we were just like, hey, let's make our own real book. Like this is our community and the representation of the tunes that they want to play. So once the repertoire was built up on its own in its own time, that's when we're like, let's put it all together.
Yeah, we kind of have a similar thing down in North Carolina to where, like, we first started using like VG lead sheets, and granted, we had to just like kind of like narrow it down because it's such a huge resource, and there are like certain tunes that like made more sense for like a jam. But then of course, we had people come in, a lot of regulars who just like, I wrote 10 charts, and I'm like, sick. Okay, what do we do? To the point where it's like, as more people, made their own charts and they really wanted to play this, and a lot of people really, meshed well with it, to the point where, we don't have like a nice book yet, but it's something we've been, kind of thinking about, of like making it more standardized, I suppose, for like specifically for the Triangle VGM jams that works for us. You know what I mean? Anyone else want to add anything to this point? Cool. Yeah, working with the space, we kind of, mentioned it throughout this whole panel. Big thing is like the relationship with the venue, because we live in a capitalist society.
We live in a society.
And everyone loses their minds.
You're working with a venue, we have to put on a good event so then they can, get people to buy drinks and make money. It has to be like worth it for them. Or you can just make your own venue, essentially.
And then to that point, I mean, that's somebody's house. So like, they're gonna have their own rules, right? But that's a case by case basis for sure.
And you can also change things around. Before Long Island started playing in the bar you saw in the video before, we were just renting out a rehearsal studio and telling people, hey, we're doing this thing. If you want to come down and just split the price of the room with us.
Yeah. Exactly.
And we were doing that for like 6 months before we were able to find a venue.
Cool.
But everyone had a good time, and that also gives us the ability to then go to a venue if you're looking to start one up yourself. It gives you the ability to go to a venue and say, hey, by the way, we've been doing this thing out of a rehearsal studio, and we've had like 20 or 30 people coming. If we could get 20 or 30 people into your bar or your venue on a Tuesday, that's probably better than you're going to get without us.
Yeah, track the numbers. Venues love numbers. If you're interested in doing something like this, definitely track the numbers and keep a record of how many people you're pulling.
I'll say one other thing.
And the bigger the numbers, the better, even if you fudge them.
Yeah. All right, Joe. I'll say another thing also, just like a little practical tip. If you have a house band, you have a house band set. Venues really like that for a couple of reasons. One, it's good for the audience of normies. Like you might get more foot traffic. The other thing is that all of those people who show up to jam, they have to sit through the house band set, and that's when they drink. And that's when they have like a meal or something. And venues love that because it's guaranteed. Like we have 20 people who are going to show up to the venue and jam with us every month. And most of them are going to buy a drink and like a sandwich or something. So it's just, there's a reliability. There's sort of like a good, having that. It also just, it cools them down a little bit. Like if you have somebody who wants to come immediately take out their horn and start playing, it's like, no, you got to just chill, have a drink, like listen to the house band before you start, jamming. And it just, it sets the vibe.
All right, I think we have less than 10 minutes, and I do want to reserve. I feel like we kind of covered a lot of this from controlling the vibe.
And we'll be around if anyone wants to learn a little bit more. We'll be here.
Yeah, come hang.
Come hang.
But that being said, again, what can you do? Obviously, come to a jam. As you know, we have a bunch of jams in the country, but I guess now in the world. So that's crazy. Act nice. I mean, we talked about as you brought up, how the vibe can be and how that can really, you know, mess up the jams. Nice people attract nice people, you know, and we'll, you know, the idea is like, how do we maintain that? Coming with tune requests, you know, it makes things a lot easier instead of coming through and be like, depending on the jam, if it's like a set repertoire, it'd be good to have, you know what you would like to play. And of course, you know, don't be shy. Easier said than done. But I promise you, we're not vibey, we're not toxic, hopefully.
Yeah, we're chill.
And of course, this is for the jam leaders, and I definitely need to tell myself this: don't forget the magic words. Who wants to solo on this?
Can I talk about why those are the this is like the single most powerful, that's the most powerful phrase for so many reasons. It's psychological engineering. Because if you ask it before the song starts, it does a couple of things. One, it makes you just go around and it's like, hey, do you want to solo? Do you want to solo? Like, the person will have to actively say, yes, I want to solo, right? Because if you just point to somebody on stage in the middle of the song, they're going to not know what to do and they're going to start playing, right? And the other thing that asking before the song is if a guy says, I want to solo on every song, it's very conspicuous, right? And so you can just be like, do you want to solo? You soloed last time. You know, you can, right?
Okay.
And it's just a really good way to make sure that everyone not only like gets a chance to play, but feels good and knows that they have a solo coming and like knows when it's their time. It's this like the most subtle form of structure, but it does so much to like actually make people feel included and inclusive. If you take nothing away from it, that's what you know, if you're running a jam, just plan it in advance. Don't try and make those cues on the call. On the fly.
Perfect. Thank you.
Real quick, we got
All
a
right.
question.
Yeah, I think now is discussion time, Q&A, and
The cues are already ready.
The guy in the hat.
I just had one thing to add about like not being shy, which is a thing I struggled with for a long time. But like the main thing is not to glaze that really more. But he said one of his videos that the goal is like.
Jacob, do you want to give him the mic? Yeah, hold up. We're gonna give you a mic.
If you get in the room and you fill out class by everybody, that's like actually where you want to be, 'cause that's like the highest potential for learning. That's a good thing. If you fill out class and shy, and that you don't, line up to the expectations, perfect. You couldn't learn more possibly than in that moment. So just know that like that's where you're supposed to be and lean into it.
Right on.
Thank you for
Cool.
saying that.
Yeah,
Love that.
absolutely. Let's not block
All
the
right.
camera. I try and think of it as I want to
I
give
think,
you.
I think you had your hand up.
Yeah,
You had a question.
Yeah, question.
Anything to say?
Hi, Braden Saltis. I've been to DC VGMs and also SF. I was wondering, because the person sitting to my right here, Ashanti Mills, great person, lovely. Meet him.
Yeah.
He gave a talk earlier today, because he still got that tie on, about doing different types of jams. And holy heck, I believe that jams across the VGM sphere has been greatly influenced by jazz jams, where you have the head, the solos, and then the head. And it's, I think, even more reinforced by the fact that a lot of times people are reading off of VG lead sheets where it's like, all right, we'll read the head, we'll do solos, we'll do the head. And in Jam Clinic, we'll do the head, the solos, and then the head. Yeah. And I kind of want to get y'all's thoughts about, like, is that really, I guess, where we want to go for the future of VGM jams? And if not, how do we, like, make the transition away from that and towards...
So that's actually a good question.
Thank you.
So personally, and this is just my own opinion, it depends on the jam session. It depends on what context that they want to try to go off of. Like for the New York scene, at least for NYC, we're deeply rooted within our jazz origins. So obviously we're going to feed into that context, but that's not a guarantee for other jam sessions. Other jam sessions are going to run their own way, and if they want to diverge from that stringent structure, then that's completely their prerogative, and they're more than welcome to do it, and more people may be open to it. It all depends on what people are looking for and what's the vibe of the scene. But each scene is going to be different, so maybe not every scene is going to follow that exact structure forever. So it's definitely possible for the change. The only constant in life is change. So there's always,
And I think as a lot of these jams are young, a lot of them are following in the footsteps of New York City, and MAG, which goes off the jazz tradition. Typically, when I describe jams, I call it jazz-inspired rather than a jazz jam because we're not really fully doing jazz at the Long Island jams. But we've also had people who have like composed for Guitar Hero where they do completely free open jams, and there's crossover between those jams and the VGM jams. We've had jams a couple times where someone just started playing the underground theme for Mario, the OG Mario, and then we just kind of built off of it and just kept going. So part of it is the establishment of what we're doing, and we have a plan, and some people like working within a plan, but also allowing that flexibility to let people take it where they want.
I'll also say, I know we're running a little late, but I think I get that complaint, head solo head, it's thrown around a lot, and I always am like, how do we break the form, or how do we do different things? And then it's like, you can, but you have to have something to replace it with. And what I think is more important and more fun is, again, this is like coming from someone who does a little bit of more playing in the rhythm section. I'm not just soloing all the time. Is how can you make those individual solos within the form more interesting? And it's through listening, right? And through evolution, and through, again, if I'm doing a solo, and particularly, like, this is my little life hack, if I just have to follow somebody who just shredded for like 30 minutes, I won't try to shred. I will instead I'll lock eyes with somebody who's paying attention in the rhythm section, and I'll just do shit with them. Like, I'll lock eyes with the drummer, and I'll just start like, hey, let's do some shit together. And assuming it's a good drummer, you're going to find way more interesting stuff to do. And you can still keep the form, but it keeps things fresh and interesting through that collaboration. What I think the people, if you fall into the, I'm just going to play a solo and then it's your solo, you're missing out on an opportunity to listen and collaborate in real time. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Okay, I think we're definitely over.
Yeah.
But
sorry.
do we have room for like one more question? One more?
Someone who's not me, take responsibility for picking this.
That's fine.
A question over here? All right.
Let's do a question, yeah.
Hutcha, hutcha, hutcha.
This was a short one, so hopefully it's good. I'm new. I'm wondering, I've heard a lot of the same repertoire again and again. I'm wondering what y'all are wanting to hear that you're not hearing from your communities.
Like
like
more Dragon Ball Z music. All right. There's so many tunes within DBZ games that are not being played. That's my personal mission.
My pick would be Skullgirls, not necessarily because people don't know about it, but because Skullgirls tracks are really hard. Yeah. So I'm concerned to call them at a jam for people who are unprepared.
I could really use more Chrono Trigger at the sessions, I think.
Really? More? I was saying we just do Chrono Trigger.
No, I on my honest answer,
Come to North Carolina, bud.
I don't think I can really be the arbiter. I don't even know that I have anything in mind. I think I just want the folks who are there to call whatever the heck they want to play. And if that's like, the same, if that's like the character, like the Enter Your Name music from Earthbound.
What's your name?
Then that's great. We'll do that every
your
month.
name,
It's whatever. It's what the people want. It's what the community is for.
Yeah, this will be the third time I talk about League of Legends. A lot of the League, League gets a bad rap for great reasons. The only thing that people praise League for is the arts department. The skids look amazing, and the music there's so much of it. If you look up League of Legends on Spotify, they do full orchestral soundtracks for specific skins. For specific skins, they will do entire soundtracks for. And
cool.
Their music department is absolutely insane. It's just they put out so much good music. No one listens to it because they're too busy flaming their junglers, so they don't have time to do it. So,
all right, great. I'm just off of my mind. Zoombinis, man. Come on, I need me some Zoombinis.
I got nothing.
You're good. I'm happy.
I'm happy.
All right, I think that's time. Yeah, we're definitely over. Yo.
Oh, we got one.
No, we got the surprise.
We got one more surprise.
We got a big surprise.
Oh, yeah, we got a little big reveal. Here we go. So.
Oh, y'all heard
Jacob,
the surprise already. All right.
Yeah?
Our man, he made a website called VGMjams.com.
Because the domain was $12. I don't know why I was the first one to notice this, but thanks, everybody.
But that being said, no, if you're looking for a jam session like in your area or 2 hours up there, go on there and I mean, or hopefully we gave you the tools to like start your own, talk to us, you know what I mean? Like we just want to spread the gospel, essentially, spread the VGM
Absolutely.
gospel.
The mentality behind the website, the mentality behind putting this all together. In my mind, all these VGM jams that I've come across are the greatest thing in the world. And I want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to be a part of it. Whether or not they decide to join is up to them, but I don't want it to be for lack of knowledge or lack of openness. So we're trying to build up VGM jams to be that resource so you could build your jam, so you could have people know about your jam and have like this central like, hey, you just found out about this? Here's where you go. Here's where you get everything you need to know.
Yeah, man.
Right on. Get a round of applause for putting this together.
Come on.
Really awesome stuff.
And again, thank you so much for, coming through this. Yeah, we're definitely over, and but
Yeah, come talk to us.
come talk to us.
Come to the jam
nice.
clinic.
Give
We'll
it
be
up for
outside.
Bao
Get
for
outta
setting
here.
us all up together, getting us all here
you,
together
Bao.
in this room. Give it up for Bao.
Yeah, give it up for Bao for arranging this.
Yeah, for real, man.